There are some very strange things that are taking place in the media, especially with in regards to what the media knows and what the media doesn't know. I know that sounds kind of cagey, but let's talk about it in the context of one Mr. Bernie Sanders and the meeting that Bernie Sanders attended yesterday, where he essentially browbeat Walmart executives to pay your people a living wage. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is indeed the Progressive Soapbox. I didn't have the story initially queued up. I came across the story, kind of stumbled across the story based on something else that I saw. It's like one thing kind of led down a rabbit hole. I just did a review on Fox and Friends smearing Tulsi Gabbard, essentially taking something that wasn't, literally took something that wasn't, it was made out of whole cloth. And now there's a similar situation with Sanders, but this is something that took place that it seems that Politico is adding a coloring to that is not indicative of reality, and I want to talk about it. So first, Bernie Sanders was invited by one Cat Davis to essentially get Walmart, well, to talk on the board at their annual stockbrokers meeting, and to try to get them to raise wages to $15 an hour minimum wage, but secondary to get employees, to allow employees to be on the corporate board, meaning we make you guys billions of dollars a year. If it wasn't for us, you would not exist. You would not be raking in the money that you guys are raking. We should be part of the board making the decisions. We do all of the labor. You reap the overwhelming majority of the profits. So let's hear when Mr. Bernie Sanders give this. And I want to, after showing this, I want to show you how Politico cast this when they were giving this story. Let's start it.
Introducing this resolution, and it states, and I quote, "Resolved, shareholders of Walmart urge the board to adopt a policy of promoting significant representation of employee perspectives among corporate decision makers by requiring that the initial list of candidates from which new nominees are chosen by the Nominating and Governance Committee include hourly associates. The policy should provide that any third-party consultant asked to furnish an initial list will be requested to include such candidates," end of quote, end of resolution. Madam Chair, the issue that we are dealing with today is pretty simple. Walmart is the largest private employer in America and is owned by the Walton family, the wealthiest family in the United States, worth approximately $175 billion. And yet, despite the incredible wealth of its owner, Walmart pays many of its employees starvation wages, wages that are so low that many of these employees are forced to rely on government programs like food stamps, Medicaid, and public housing in order to survive. Frankly, the American people are sick and tired of subsidizing the greed of some of the largest and most profitable corporations in this country. They are also outraged by the grotesque level of income and wealth inequality in America, as demonstrated by the CEO of Walmart making 1,000 times more than the average Walmart employee. Last year, Walmart made nearly $10 billion in profit. It paid its CEO over $20 million in compensation, and it has authorized $20 billion in stock buybacks, which will benefit its wealthiest stockholders. Surely, with all of that, Walmart can afford to pay its employees a living wage of at least $15 an hour. And that is not a radical idea, because many of Walmart's major competitors like Amazon, Costco, and Target have already moved in that direction. Further, Walmart should give a voice to its workers by allowing them seats on the board of directors. The concerns of workers, not just stockholders, should be part of board decisions. Today, with the passage of this resolution, Walmart can strike a blow against corporate greed and a grotesque level of income and wealth inequality that exists in our country. Please do the right thing. Please pass this resolution. Thank you very much.
All right. So that's what took place. Bernie Sanders goes and demands higher wages, and not just higher wages. We want an employee on the board. This makes all the sense in the world. Again, these people do the job. They do the labor. They're the ones that allow these guys to make the money that they make. The Waltons don't exist without the workers. And yet you have this distribution in pay where the workers accepts so little in the context of what they earn. It's astonishing. I'm just enamored that workers, like, that our society is arranged in a way that accepts that thinks that's okay. But Bernie Sanders goes and says, look, we want wages and we want to put somebody on the board. The board thing was outright dismissed out of hand. And as for the increased wages, Walmart came out and pushed for raising the minimum wage across the country. That was their way of essentially dodging doing it themselves. They could do it for their workers. Again, they make billions, $175 billion. Yeah, we can't afford that. That's too much, dog. You're asking for too much. Here's the catch. They're systemically incentivized to do exactly what they're doing. Why wouldn't they give themselves additional wealth? Why wouldn't they give themselves or accrue all of the wealth to themselves? Why wouldn't they do that? What stops them from doing that? You might say, oh, well, their morality. No, this is a machine that has a very expressed interest in the maximizing wealth and expropriating that wealth to the top. And it does that extraordinarily well. Sanders yelling at them to pay their workers more is not going to be the thing that gets them to pay their workers more. I suspect he knows that. Now, here's the catch. And I don't want to deviate too far from the story. Bernie Sanders was invited here by one Cat Davis. I could show it to you. It was in the Washington Post. Clear as day. Where's my mouse? There we are. The Washington Post reported Tuesday that the independent senator from Vermont and 2020 Democratic presidential candidate will attend Walmart's meeting in Bentonville, Arkansas on June 5th to advocate for the hourly workers behind the request. The proposal was filed by one Cat Davis, a company employee and leader of the labor rights group United for Respect. We really want Walmart to think about us, the lowly associates who, behind the scenes, are the ones bringing in the money, says Davis, who explained that she asked Sanders to present the proposal because of his history backing workers' demands for higher wages and paid sick leave. That's a quote. Politico gets wind of this. Sanders crashes Walmart meeting. Blast starvation wages. He did blast starvation wages, but he was saying please, so blast is a little strong, but fair enough. But he didn't crash anything. He was invited. And the wild part about this is Sanders was invited to speak as a proxy for worker Cat Davis. Then why are you using the term crash? I guess my point is with the terminology of crashed. And I used CNN's article the other day, and CNN expunged Cat Davis's name from the entire article. I'm just saying, the naming of this gives a wrong impression. The connotation of this. He didn't crash anything. He was invited. That's my point. That's my only point. It wasn't this notion that Bernie Sanders, just comes into a meeting completely uninvited and no. Bernie Sanders was invited to that meeting. I just want to make that very clear. I'm not going to keep this long, but I do want to counter stuff that is a little dicey. Have you heard about the raids on journalism in Australia? Yes, I have. That's also one of my stories. This kind of just ended up coming into the story just because I ran into it online. But Let me get back to my original set. Ron is coming up at 4 o'clock. So let me end this. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon. Ron from the Jimmy Dore Show is going to be up at 4 p.m. So I may try to sneak one in between then and now. So let me end this one. Thanks all.